Good morning, everybody. I'm Tom Hunter, the Associate State Director with AARP West Virginia. And on behalf of our 250,000 members across the Mountain State, a few of whom, Senator, are joining us here today, a few of our volunteers, and our AARP West Virginia State Director, Gayleen Miller, and our AARP West Virginia State Volunteer President, Jane Marks, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today. I want to thank Senator Manchin for the opportunity to make this presentation today. And Senator, as I know you have heard from many of your constituents across the state, and we hear it from many of our members here in the Mountain State, the rising costs of prescription drugs are truly creating an economic hardship for older Americans and older West Virginians. West Virginians are struggling to afford everything from groceries to rising utility bills to gasoline right now, while the big drug companies are charging 3 times more for prescription drugs than everyone else in the world. In January 2022, Big Pharma raised prices on 800 prescription medications. It's outrageous what's happening with pharmaceutical prices. If consumer prices had risen as fast as drug prices have over the past 15 years, gasoline would now cost $12.20 a gallon. Now, folks aren't happy paying $5 a gallon, okay? But had gasoline stayed with the rate of what we've seen in the increases in the cost of prescription drugs, $12.20 a gallon. A gallon of milk right now would be $13 a gallon using that same formula. To bring that comparison to something all West Virginians can understand, and most certainly you can understand, Senator, from your hometown bakery in Fairmont Country Club Bakery, pepperoni rolls. Pepperoni rolls in 2006, Senator, cost $1. If those prices had risen at the same rate as prescription drugs, you'd be paying $4.05 now for one of these. $4.05.
Still a bargain, aren't they?
So that's what we're dealing with in terms of the increases in prescription drug costs. It's out of control. Older West Virginians who are living on fixed incomes face challenges every day and have to make some tough decisions. Do I pay for my prescription drugs? Do I pay my utility bills? Do I pay my rising costs for groceries? If they're still out driving, do I put a full tank of gas in the tank? Medicare spends more than $135 billion on prescription drugs every year, $135 billion. Yet current law prohibits Medicare from negotiating with drug companies for lower prices. Big Pharma is trying to scare lawmakers with misleading claims to stop them from allowing Medicare to negotiate for lower prices. Allowing Medicare to negotiate would save older Americans, older West Virginians, and taxpayers billions of dollars a year, helping to protect seniors from inflation by lowering their drug prices and putting money back in their pockets. Lowering prescription drug prices is something that has widespread support among voters, regardless of party affiliation. An AARP survey recently of voters found that strong majorities of voters want Congress to act on the issue, with 70% saying that's very important. The survey also found, Senator, that 87% of voters, 87% support allowing Medicare to negotiate prescription drug prices. Senator Manchin, you have expressed your strong support for Medicare negotiation, and we appreciate you, Senator, being a champion on that point. It is urgent that you keep fighting for West Virginians and stop drug companies from price gouging us. I want to ask our volunteers to come forward with the Senator. They have petitions today. If you guys will go ahead and step forward here with the Senator. They have petitions today that they will be presenting to you, Senator, to urge members of Congress to take action on meaningful and necessary prescription drug reform. More than 4 million Americans have signed on to this effort, joining AARP in this fight. And today I'm pleased to present to you, Senator, with more than 35,000 petitions signed by West Virginians urging you and your Senate colleagues to make sure Medicare negotiation is part of a new reconciliation package. Senator, we thank you for the time today. We thank you for welcoming us, and we invite you to make remarks.
Absolutely. To all of my friends, and Tom, thank you very much for the kind introduction. To Gayleen and Angela, who I understand are just taking precautionary measures, and to all of those who are here today. What Tom has just said is absolutely correct, and we all know it. We see it every day. one of the most, I think, challenging parts of our life today as we grow older, especially seniors, is the cost of medication to live a quality of a life. And to have that continually being taken advantage of with high prices is unbelievable. So we're doing everything humanly possible, and I think the time is right now. There's so much that we can do. There is a bipartisan consensus that's going around right now wondering how this can be challenged and how we can basically bring these prices down. First of all, if you look, the PBMs, the pharmaceutical benefit managers, I've looked at everything and everyone's blamed everybody. I've talked to Big Pharma and they're blaming PBMs. I talked to PBMs, they blame Big Pharma. So I figured there's a problem between one or both. And the PBMs were brought in to try to reduce the prices, to negotiate. It should have been done through the government, and I'll tell you the reason why I say that. The one agency that does the best of negotiating the lowest prices for drugs is the Veterans Administration, the VA. So I said, they have the ability, the VA, to negotiate for Medicaid, Medicare, and themselves, and bring all these prices down. Tremendous reduction in prices. And why we don't agree to this and allow this to happen is beyond my understanding. So I've talked to the Secretary Dennis, Secretary of the VA, and he says we can do it. This is something we could do overnight and make sure it happened. But I can tell you there is a movement that we are going to do everything that we possibly can. It'll be done this year. It has to be done. We can't continue letting this go on year after year and kick down the road. This is a piece of legislation that you just read. Tom just read the statistics. It's over 70 to 80% everywhere in the country, Democrats and Republicans. I've said this before. The country's not divided. It's the politics of a country. It's the politicians that are dividing. The politics coming out of our capital and in Washington, D.C. and out of every state is forcing you to take a side. Are you for this side or this side? What do you believe or what don't you believe? You look at this, basically, cable news, or you're on social platforms, and you don't know what to believe. And everyone says, well, the country's divided. It's not the country. People want to work together. They want to make common sense decisions that works for them in their lives. And we're the ones basically holding something back as common sense as being able to allow Medicare to negotiate for lower prices, lower drug prices. That seems like the easiest lift at all. On top of that, then you have the price of insulin. Why life-saving insulin? This is not new breakthrough drugs that we don't know how to handle. There's all types of iteration of that, but you know, I can tell you that we're going to do something there. I'm working with a group, and we have a piece of legislation that's going to cap the price at $35 a month. That's the maximum anybody should pay out of pocket, and it just makes all the sense in the world. I've also supported importing drugs from Canada, as long as they've been proven safe by the FDA. It's ridiculous for us to pay the highest prices in the world on the drugs that we bring to market for, and have the Americans paying the highest price for the world to enjoy life-saving drugs that we can't afford. Something's wrong with that scenario, I can tell you that. So we're fighting hard on that and trying to bring that directly into relationship and cost with Canada and other countries. Canada has been willing to work with us on that. We're working through some of the different exchanges back and forth. But if when we talked about Medicare Advantage and Medicare Part D, the insulin prices should be capped, talking about drugs from Canada. The FDA should be working with the Canadians to making sure that we can have drugs, especially when there's been a sharp price increase for an off-patent drug. That means it's not on patent anymore, but there's been a spike in the pricing. We should be able to do that because a single manufacturer can control. They basically monopolize it. The Senior Cost Drug Cost Act, which would provide transparency to hold PBMs. The problem is right now we don't know where the cost savings are going. We don't know why it's not given back to the patient. And the PBMs basically are not transparent. It's profit making. They're some of the three largest companies in the country are PBMs that were established because they have a monopoly to negotiate the pricing. Everything you do has to go through that, and that has to stop. And we're going to work on that one too. I have in March. I also led a group of 30 bipartisan senators sending a letter to CMS Administrator Brooks LaShore, urging to finalize a proposed rule that's going to stop all retroactive direct and indirect remuneration fees. Another way prescription drug prices are driven up for hardworking seniors. The solvency of Medicare, 2026 we become insolvent, and we haven't done anything. So if we don't get our financial house in order, I can guarantee you that it'll continue. These prices will continue to increase. Out of pocket will continue to increase, and more hardship and people with fixed incomes is going to be almost insurmountable. This is something that we're working on immediately to fix that, to extend that insolvency on Medicare. And we can do that by getting these prices under control, which would give us a long, long life, if you will. And FDR, one of the best quotes that I think FDR ever made, but basically he walked the walk and what he talked. But he said the test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much. It is whether we provide enough for those who have too little. And as we grow older and you start living on fixed incomes and you have no control over inflation, and what we're dealing with is it's affecting every person. It affects people on fixed incomes more than anybody else. And the seniors are affected more by this because you have no other means to offset that, except if we have some controls in place to keep it from rising. In this country, we as a nation, we have to bring our finances in order, get our financial house in order. We can do that. The drug pricing is something we all agree on. If we do nothing else this year, I think we can do a lot more, but if we do nothing more this year, that's the one thing that must be done. A lot of times they hold something that's that popular and try to say, well, if we put this in this bill here, it'll help this bill get passed. The waiting game is over. The time to act is now. So I'm going to do everything I can to make sure this happens, and we're negotiating on a lot of things right now, and we're going to see to make sure this is the highest thing on the order to get done. And it's really comes down, for me, it's all about West Virginia and the people in West Virginia. But every senator in the country right now has the same concerns. For some reason, they don't have the same desire to act. I can't figure that one out. But I can tell you, I'm going to do all I can. So I want to thank AARP. You're always there on the front for us. Gayleen's been fighting this. It's something she's passionate. Angela's passionate. Tom, you and all the support staff you all give us. Every time you get a chance to talk to somebody that you have as your representative elected official, make sure they understand. There's no reason why we don't do this. All you got to do is put up and vote. There's no reason why we can't get this on the board to be voted on. And they're playing games with it. It's time to stop playing games. Let's vote. But thank you. God bless you. God bless the great state of West Virginia. And may God continue to bless the United States of America.